Marcus Chen had always been different from the other palace guards. While his colleagues chatted during breaks, he stood perfectly still. When others complained about the heat or cold, Marcus never said a word. His breathing was so controlled that some joked he was more machine than man. But nobody really believed it until the day the AI security system made its shocking declaration. The Royal Palace of Monaco had recently installed the most advanced artificial intelligence security system in the world. The system, called Sentinel, could analyze everything from heartbeat patterns to micro-expressions. It was designed to detect threats, identify imposters, and ensure the safety of the royal family. The technology was so sophisticated that it could supposedly tell the difference between a human and any artificial being. Marcus had worked at the palace for 3 years. He was known for his exceptional discipline and unwavering focus. Other guards would sometimes test his concentration by making jokes or trying to distract him, but Marcus never broke his stance. His supervisors praised him as the perfect guard, always on time, never sick, never complaining. The trouble began on a Tuesday morning in March. Sentinel had been running routine scans of all palace staff when something unusual happened. The system's alarm suddenly activated, flooding the security control room with flashing red lights. The head of security, Captain Rodriguez, rushed to check what had triggered the alert. What he saw on the monitor made his blood run cold. Sentinel was displaying a message that seemed impossible. Non-human entity detected. Guard Station 7, subject, Marcus Chen, classification, artificial intelligence construct. Captain Rodriguez stared at the screen in disbelief. He had known Marcus for years. The man had a family, ate lunch with the other guards, and even had a small scar on his chin from a childhood accident. How could the AI system be claiming he was not human? The security team immediately began reviewing Marcus's personnel files. Everything seemed normal. Birth certificate, medical records, employment history. But Sentinel continued its warning, analyzing Marcus's vital signs and behavioral patterns with growing certainty. Dr. Sarah Williams, the AI specialist who had designed Sentinel, was called in for an emergency consultation. She ran multiple diagnostic tests on the system, checking for malfunctions or errors. But every test came back clean. Sentinel was functioning perfectly, and its analysis remained unchanged. The system is detecting anomalies in his biorhythms, Dr. Williams explained to Captain Rodriguez. His heart rate is too steady, his breathing too regular. No human maintains such perfect physiological control. As the day progressed, the security team began observing Marcus more closely. They noticed things they had somehow missed before. He never sweated, even in the hottest weather. His eyes never seemed to tire or water. When he walked, his steps were perfectly measured, like a metronome keeping time. The other guards started feeling uneasy around Marcus. Rumors spread quickly through the palace staff. Some whispered that he might be some kind of android sent to spy on the royal family. Others suggested he could be a cyborg with advanced modifications. Marcus himself seemed unaware of the growing suspicion around him. He continued his duties exactly as he always had, standing guard with perfect posture and unwavering attention. When Captain Rodriguez tried to engage him in casual conversation, Marcus responded politely but briefly, just as he always did. By evening, the palace was buzzing with tension. The royal family had been discreetly informed of the situation, and additional security measures were put in place. Dr. Williams worked frantically to understand what Sentinel was detecting that human eyes had missed. The most disturbing discovery came when they analyzed video footage of Marcus from the past 3 years. In thousands of hours of surveillance, he had never once been caught off guard, never stumbled, never made an involuntary movement. His performance was statistically impossible for a human being. As night fell, Captain Rodriguez made a difficult decision. He would have to confront Marcus directly and demand answers. The safety of the royal family was at stake, and they could not afford to take any chances with someone who might not be human. The stage was set for a confrontation that would change everything anyone thought they knew about Marcus Chen and challenge the very definition of what it meant to be human. Captain Rodriguez approached Marcus during the night shift change. The palace corridors were dimly lit, and most of the staff had gone home. It seemed like the perfect time for a private conversation that could determine whether they were dealing with an elaborate deception or something far more extraordinary. "Marcus, I need to speak with you in my office," Captain Rodriguez said, trying to keep his voice steady. He had faced dangerous criminals and potential assassins before, but nothing had prepared him for questioning someone who might not be human. Marcus turned to face his superior with the same calm expression he always wore. "Of course, Captain. Is there a problem with my performance?" As they walked to the security office, Captain Rodriguez studied Marcus's movements. Now that he was looking for it, the mechanical precision was unmistakable. Every step was exactly the same length, every turn perfectly calculated. How had they all missed this for so long? In the office, Captain Rodriguez decided to be direct. "Marcus, our AI security system has identified you as a non-human entity. I need you to explain. What's going on?" For the first time in 3 years, something changed in Marcus's expression. A flicker of what looked like surprise crossed his face, followed by something that might have been sadness. "I was hoping this day would never come," Marcus said quietly, settling into the chair across from Captain Rodriguez's desk. "How much do you want to know?" The admission hit Captain Rodriguez like a physical blow. "You're saying Sentinel is right? You're not human?" Marcus was silent for a long moment, seeming to weigh his options. Finally, he spoke. "I am human, Captain, but I'm also something more. Something that shouldn't exist according to everything science tells us." Over the next hour, Marcus revealed a story that sounded like science fiction, but explained everything the security team had observed. He had been born completely human, he insisted, but a rare genetic condition had begun shutting down his organs when he was 17 years old. Traditional medicine had failed him. "My father was a brilliant engineer who worked for a military technology company," Marcus continued. "When the doctors said I had weeks to live, he made a desperate choice. He used experimental technology to replace my failing organs with artificial ones. Not just simple implants, but biomechanical systems that could interface with my nervous system." Captain Rodriguez listened in amazement as Marcus described the extensive procedures that had saved his life, but transformed him into something between human and machine. His heart was a perfectly regulated pump. His lungs were efficient artificial systems. Even parts of his brain had been augmented with processing units that enhanced his reflexes and concentration. "The procedures were illegal," Marcus admitted. "My father could have been imprisoned for what he did. After I recovered, we created a new identity for me. All my official records show a normal human life, but the reality is more complicated." Explanation answered many questions, but raised even more. If Marcus was part machine, did that make him a security risk? Could his artificial components be hacked or controlled by enemies? Was he still capable of human emotion and loyalty? "Why did you choose to become a palace guard?" Captain Rodriguez asked. Marcus's response revealed a depth of feeling that surprised the captain. "Because I wanted to serve something greater than myself. The artificial parts of me might be perfect, but they don't make me feel less human. If anything, they make me more grateful for the life I have." Dr. Williams arrived at the palace late that night to examine Marcus more closely. With his consent, she ran detailed scans that revealed the incredible sophistication of his biomechanical systems. The technology was decades ahead of anything she had seen in public research. "This is remarkable," she told Captain Rodriguez privately. "His augmentations are so advanced that they actually make him a better guard than any normal human could be." His reaction time, awareness, and physical capabilities are enhanced, but his personality and decision-making appear completely human. The question now was what to do with this information. The royal family needed to be informed, but how? Would they react to learning that one of their trusted guards was part machine? And what about the other staff members who were already suspicious? Marcus had requested to continue his duties while the security team decided his fate. "This palace has been my home for 3 years," he said. "The royal family's safety matters, more to me than my own secret. I understand if you can't trust me anymore, but please don't make any hasty decisions." As dawn broke over the palace, Captain Rodriguez found himself facing an unprecedented situation. He had always believed that protecting the royal family meant keeping all threats at a distance. But what if one of the greatest protectors was someone who technically wasn't entirely human? The decision he made in the coming hours would determine not only Marcus's future, but also challenge everyone's understanding of what it truly meant to be human in an age of advancing technology. The news of Marcus's true nature spread through the palace's inner circle like wildfire. Within 48 hours, everyone from the head butler to the royal physician knew that one of their most trusted guards was part machine. The reactions ranged from fascination to fear, but everyone agreed on one thing: this situation was unprecedented. Princess Isabella, the youngest member of the royal family, was the first to demand answers. At 22, she was known for her direct approach to problems and her unwillingness to accept simple explanations for complex issues. "I want to speak with Marcus myself," she announced during an emergency family meeting. "If this man has been protecting our family for 3 years, I need to understand who he really is." The king was hesitant. "Isabella, we don't know what we're dealing with. This person could be dangerous." But the princess had already made up her mind. She had always noticed something special about Marcus during the times he had been assigned to her personal security detail. While other guards sometimes seemed distracted or tired, Marcus had an intensity of focus that made her feel completely safe. The meeting was arranged for the palace's private library, a place where the royal family often held confidential discussions. Marcus entered the room with the same respectful posture he had always maintained, but Princess Isabella could now see the subtle differences that marked him as something more than human. "Sit down, Marcus," she said gently. "I want you to tell me your story in your own words." What followed was the most honest conversation Marcus had ever had with anyone at the palace. He spoke about his childhood dreams of serving in the military, his devastating illness, and his father's desperate decision to save his life using forbidden technology. "The hardest part wasn't the physical changes," Marcus explained. "It was learning to live with the knowledge that I was no longer completely human. Every day, I wake up questioning whether my thoughts and feelings are truly my own or just the result of programming." Princess Isabella listened intently, asking thoughtful questions about his experiences and emotions. She wanted to understand not just what he was, but who he was as a person. "When you're on duty, protecting our family, what drives you?" she asked. Marcus's response came without hesitation. "The same thing that would drive any person who believes in service and honor. These artificial parts of me might make me stronger or faster, but they don't control my heart. My dedication to this family comes from a very human place." The conversation lasted for nearly 2 hours, and by the end, Princess Isabella had reached a conclusion that would surprise everyone involved in the situation. Meanwhile, the security team was dealing with practical concerns. Dr. Williams had been working around the clock to understand the full extent of Marcus's capabilities and any potential vulnerabilities. Her findings were both reassuring and concerning. The SOC. "Good news is that his systems appear to be completely self-contained," she reported to Captain Rodriguez. "There's no wireless connectivity that could be exploited by hackers. His augmentations are more like advanced prosthetics than computer systems." But there were still unknowns. The technology used to save Marcus's life was far beyond anything currently available to the public. This raised questions about who had really developed it, and whether there might be others like Marcus in the world. The other palace guards were struggling with their own reactions to the revelation. Some felt betrayed that Marcus had hidden his true nature from them. Others were amazed by what he represented, a fusion of human determination and technological innovation. Guard Lieutenant Torres, who had worked closely with Marcus for 2 years, found himself questioning every interaction they had ever had. Did he ever really care about any of us? Or was he just programmed to act friendly? These doubts created tension within the security team just when unity was most important. Captain Rodriguez realized that resolving Marcus's status wasn't just about one individual. It would affect the entire palace's ability to function as a cohesive unit. The breakthrough came from an unexpected source. The palace's head chef, Mrs. Chen, no relation to Marcus, had been quietly observing the situation. She approached Captain Rodriguez with information that would change everything. "I've been watching Marcus eat in our cafeteria for 3 years," she said. "If he were just a machine pretending to be human, he wouldn't need food. But he does eat and he enjoys it. I've seen him smile when he tastes something particularly good. Machines don't smile about food." This observation led Dr. Williams to a crucial realization. Marcus wasn't simply a machine programmed to act human. He was a human whose body had been enhanced with artificial components. The distinction was more important than anyone had initially understood. As the week progressed, more evidence emerged, supporting Marcus's humanity. Security cameras showed him helping other staff members during his off-duty hours, displaying genuine concern for their well-being. His personnel file contained thank-you notes from palace visitors who had been impressed by his courtesy and helpfulness. The picture that emerged was of someone who had used extraordinary technology not to become less human, but to become the best version of himself possible. His artificial parts had given him the ability to serve others more effectively, but they hadn't changed the fundamental goodness of his character. Princess Isabella scheduled another meeting, this time with her entire family present. She had a proposal that would determine Marcus's future at the palace. The royal family gathered in the throne room for what would become one of the most important decisions in the palace's modern history. King Alexander, Queen Maria, Prince Michael, and Princess Isabella sat in a semicircle, with Captain Rodriguez and Dr. Williams standing nearby. Marcus waited outside, unaware that his entire future hung in the balance. Princess Isabella stood to address her family. She had spent the past few days researching everything she could about biomechanical enhancement and speaking with experts around the world. What she had learned had convinced her that they were facing a decision that went far beyond one person's employment. "We have a choice to make that will define who we are as a family and as leaders," she began. "We can reject Marcus because he's different from us, or we can embrace what he represents, the triumph of human spirit over impossible circumstances." The king remained skeptical. "Isabella, I understand your compassion, but we have responsibilities. What if there are others like him? What if this technology is being used by people who don't share his good intentions?" Prince Michael, who had been quietly considering the situation, spoke up. "Father, with respect, we've had 3 years to judge Marcus by his actions. In that time, he's never given us any reason to doubt his loyalty or integrity. Shouldn't that matter more than what he's made of?" Queen Maria had been the most concerned about the security implications. "But what if his artificial parts malfunction? What if someone finds a way to control them?" Dr. Williams stepped forward to address the Queen's concerns. "Your Majesty, I've completed extensive testing of Marcus's systems. They're actually more reliable than normal human biology. His artificial heart has never missed a beat in 3 years. His enhanced reflexes have probably prevented several minor accidents that could have endangered palace staff." The debate continued for over an hour, with each family member expressing their concerns and hopes. Finally, Princess Isabella made a request that surprised everyone. "I want to propose something unconventional," she said. "Instead of making this decision in private, I think we should let Marcus prove himself publicly. There's a state visit from the Prime Minister of Japan next week. I suggest we assign Marcus as my personal guard for the entire event." The room fell silent. State visits were among the most challenging security assignments at the palace. They involved crowds, multiple venues, and countless opportunities for things to go wrong. It would be the ultimate test of Marcus's abilities and trustworthiness. Captain Rodriguez was the first to object. "Princess, that's extremely risky. If something goes wrong, then we'll know we made the wrong choice," Princess Isabella interrupted. "But if Marcus performs as well as he has for the past 3 years, we'll have our answer about whether humanity comes from what we're made of or how we choose to live." The king considered his daughter's proposal carefully. He had always taught his children to lead by example and to make decisions based on evidence rather than fear. The evidence supported Marcus's character, even if his nature was unprecedented. Very well, the king finally decided. Marcus will serve as Princess Isabella's primary guard during the Japanese Prime Minister's visit, but he'll be monitored constantly, and at the first sign of any problem, he'll be removed from duty immediately. When Marcus was called back into the throne room and informed of the decision, his reaction revealed the depth of his humanity. Tears formed in his eyes, something that would have been impossible for a purely artificial being. "Your Majesties, I won't let you down," he said, his voice thick with emotion. "This chance means everything to me." The next week became the most intense period of Marcus's career. The Japanese delegation included not only the Prime Minister, but also several security experts who were curious about the palace's legendary guard staff. Marcus would be under scrutiny from multiple intelligence agencies. Dr. Williams worked with Marcus to optimize his systems for the demanding assignment. They ran diagnostics on all his artificial components and updated his software to ensure peak performance. But more importantly, they discussed the psychological pressure he would be facing. "Remember," Dr. Williams told him, "you're not just representing yourself. You're representing the possibility that humans and technology can work together to create something better than either could achieve alone." The other guards rallied around Marcus as the state visit approached. Lieutenant Torres, who had initially been suspicious, became one of his strongest supporters. "I've seen Marcus risk his own safety to protect others," Torres told Captain Rodriguez. "Whatever he's made of, his courage is completely human." Princess Isabella spent extra time briefing Marcus on the week's schedule. She wanted to ensure that he understood not just the security requirements but also the diplomatic significance of each event. "This visit could strengthen the relationship between our countries for decades," she explained. "Your job isn't just to keep me safe. It's to help create an environment where important conversations can happen." As the Japanese delegation arrived at the palace, Marcus took his position at Princess Isabella's side with the same quiet confidence he had always displayed. But now, everyone watching knew they were witnessing something unprecedented in royal security. The first test came during the welcoming ceremony in the palace courtyard. Hundreds of guests, multiple camera crews, and security personnel from 3 different countries created a complex environment that would challenge even the most experienced guard. Marcus moved through the crowd with fluid precision, his enhanced senses allowing him to monitor threats that others might miss. When a photographer accidentally stumbled near the princess, Marcus was there instantly, helping the man regain his balance while simultaneously ensuring the princess's safety. The Japanese security team was impressed. "Your guard has exceptional awareness," the head of the Prime Minister's security detail told Captain Rodriguez. "His positioning is flawless." But the real test was yet to come. The most challenging event of the state visit would be a public walkabout through the city's historic district, where thousands of citizens were expected to line the streets. The public walkabout began on a bright Wednesday morning. Thousands of citizens lined the historic cobblestone streets, waving flags and holding cameras. Princess Isabella walked alongside the Japanese Prime Minister, discussing cultural exchanges and economic partnerships. Marcus maintained his position 2 steps behind and slightly to the left, his enhanced senses constantly scanning the crowd. Everything seemed perfect until Marcus detected something that would have been invisible to normal human senses. A slight irregularity in the crowd's movement pattern, a person whose behavior didn't match those around him. The individual was positioned near a narrow alley wearing a coat that seemed too heavy for the warm weather. Marcus's artificial systems began processing thousands of data points simultaneously. The person's posture suggested concealed objects. His positioning provided a clear escape route. Most concerning, his attention was focused entirely on Princess Isabella rather than the general celebration. Without breaking his stride or showing any outward sign of alarm, Marcus activated the subtle communication device that connected him to the security command center. Possible threat, Sector 7. Individual in dark coat near Merchant's Alley, he whispered. Captain Rodriguez, monitoring from the mobile command unit, immediately dispatched additional plainclothes officers to investigate. But before they could reach the location, the situation escalated dramatically. The suspicious individual suddenly moved, pushing through the crowd toward Princess Isabella. In his hand was a small device that Marcus's enhanced vision identified as a possible weapon. Normal human reflexes would have been too slow to respond effectively, but Marcus's biomechanical systems gave him a crucial advantage. In one fluid motion, Marcus stepped between the threat and Princess Isabella, while simultaneously alerting her to move toward the Prime Minister's security detail. The suspicious individual, realizing his approach had been detected, broke into a run toward the alley. What happened next would be talked about for years. Marcus pursued the fleeing individual with speed and agility that astonished everyone watching. He leaped over barriers that would have slowed a normal person and navigated the crowded street with precision that seemed impossible. The chase led through narrow medieval alleys and across busy intersections. Marcus's enhanced systems allowed him to predict the individual's movements and take shortcuts that gradually closed the distance between them. When the suspect tried to lose him by climbing a fire escape, Marcus followed with cat-like grace. Pursuit ended on a rooftop overlooking the city square. The individual, now cornered, revealed that the device in his hand was indeed a weapon. A small but sophisticated taser designed to incapacitate security personnel. He had been planning to disable Princess Isabella's guards and create chaos during the diplomatic visit. "You can't be human," the would-be attacker gasped, staring at Marcus in disbelief. "No person could have kept up with me through that chase." Marcus approached carefully, his training taking over despite the artificial enhancements that had made the pursuit possible. "I'm human enough to understand right from wrong," he replied calmly, "and what you were planning was definitely wrong." The suspect was taken into custody without further incident, and the investigation revealed that he was part of a small extremist group opposed to international cooperation. The weapon he carried could have seriously injured Princess Isabella, or created a panic that might have resulted in casualties among the civilians. News of Marcus's heroic actions spread quickly through the palace and beyond. Video footage from security cameras and civilian phones showed his remarkable pursuit of the suspect, leading to intense speculation about his extraordinary abilities. Dr. Williams analyzed the footage with amazement. "His performance exceeded even my most optimistic projections," she told Captain Rodriguez. "The integration between his artificial systems and human decision-making is seamless." But the most significant reaction came from Princess Isabella herself. When she was reunited with Marcus after the incident, her words carried the weight of genuine gratitude and respect. "You didn't just protect me today," she told him privately. "You protected everything we're trying to accomplish with this state visit." The relationship between our countries could have been damaged if this attack had succeeded. The Japanese Prime Minister was equally impressed. During a private dinner that evening, he specifically requested to meet Marcus and thank him personally for his service. In Japan, we have great respect for the harmony between tradition and innovation, the Prime Minister said through his translator. You represent the best of both, honoring the ancient duty of protection while embracing the possibilities of the future. The successful conclusion of the state visit marked a turning point in how everyone at the palace viewed Marcus. The other guards no longer saw him as something different to be feared, but as a colleague whose unique abilities made them all more effective. Lieutenant Torres expressed what many were thinking. I used to worry about whether Marcus was really one of us. Now I realize that question was backwards. The real question is whether we're worthy of serving alongside him. The king summoned Marcus for a private audience the day after the Japanese delegation departed. The conversation took place in the king's study, a room reserved for the most important discussions of state. Marcus, the king began, your actions this week have proven something important, not just about your capabilities, but about your character. You risked your own safety to protect my daughter and preserve an important diplomatic relationship. Marcus stood at attention, unsure of what would come next. I was simply doing my duty, Your Majesty. The king smiled. No, you were doing much more than that. You were showing us what it means to be truly human, not in terms of biology, but in terms of values, courage, and selflessness. What the king said next would change Marcus's life forever and set a precedent that would influence how society viewed the integration of human and artificial intelligence for generations to come. The king's words would echo through history. Marcus Chen, I hereby name you the first Knight Protector of the modern age. Your service has proven that humanity is not defined by the components of our bodies, but by the content of our character. The ceremony took place in the palace's Great Hall, attended by the entire royal family, the security staff, and representatives from governments around the world who had heard about Marcus's extraordinary story. As Marcus knelt before the king, receiving the ceremonial sword that symbolized his new role, there wasn't a dry eye in the room. Princess Isabella had requested to speak at the ceremony. Her words captured what many were feeling. 3 years ago, Marcus Chen began protecting our family. We thought we knew who he was, a dedicated guard with exceptional skills. We never imagined that beneath that dedication was a story of triumph over impossible circumstances. She paused, looking directly at Marcus. When artificial intelligence claimed that Marcus was a machine, it made a fundamental error. It measured his heartbeat and breathing, but it couldn't measure his heart and soul. Today, we celebrate not just his service, but what he represents, the unlimited potential of human determination. The creation of the Knight Protector position was more than ceremonial recognition. It established Marcus as the head of a new division focused on integrating advanced technology with traditional security methods. His unique perspective and capabilities would help the palace prepare for the challenges of an increasingly complex world. Dr. Williams was appointed as the scientific advisor to the new division. Her research into Marcus's biomechanical systems led to groundbreaking advances in medical technology that would help countless people with disabilities or life-threatening conditions. Marcus showed us that the line between human and artificial doesn't have to be a barrier, she explained to a gathering of medical researchers. Instead, it can be a bridge to possibilities we never imagined. The news media struggled to categorize Marcus's story. Some called him a cyborg hero, others focused on the philosophical questions his existence raised about the nature of humanity. But for most people, he simply represented hope, proof that technology could enhance rather than replace human values. Marcus used his new platform to advocate for others who found themselves caught between human and artificial categories. He spoke at universities, medical conferences, and technology summits, always emphasizing that identity should be based on actions rather than origins. I am not human, despite my artificial parts, he would often say. I am human because of how I choose to use all parts of myself, biological and technological, in service of others. The Palace Guard program was revolutionized under Marcus's leadership. New training protocols emphasized the integration of human judgment with technological assistance. Guards learned to work with advanced AI systems while maintaining the personal touch that made royal security both effective and dignified. Captain Rodriguez, now promoted to Chief of Palace Security, reflected on how much had changed. When Sentinel first identified Marcus as non-human, I thought we were facing a crisis. Instead, we discovered an opportunity to redefine what excellence in service could look like. The other guards who had initially been suspicious of Marcus became some of his strongest advocates. Lieutenant Torres, now second in command of the Enhanced Security Division, often told new recruits about the day everything changed. We learned that being human isn't about having a perfect natural body, he would explain. It's about having the courage to protect others, the wisdom to make difficult choices, and the heart to care about something bigger than yourself. Marcus's father, who had remained hidden since the illegal procedures that saved his son's life, finally came forward. The reunion was emotional, but it also provided closure to a story that had begun with a desperate father's love. "I gave you artificial parts to save your life," his father told Marcus during their first meeting in years. "But everything good you've done with that life came from the parts that were always completely human." 5 years after the AI system first declared Marcus to be a machine, he stood once again in the palace courtyard. But now he was training the next generation of guards, teaching them that protection comes not from perfection, but from purpose. Princess Isabella, now married and with children of her own, watched from her window as Marcus demonstrated security techniques to the new recruits. Her children called him Uncle Marcus, and had never known a world where the distinction between human and artificial mattered more than the distinction between good and evil. The Sentinel AI system, upgraded and improved over the years, now worked in harmony with Marcus rather than seeing him as an anomaly. It had learned, as the humans had, that intelligence comes in many forms and that the most important qualities cannot be measured by sensors. Marcus Chen had proved that when an AI claimed he was a machine, it was both completely wrong and partially right. He was a machine in the sense that parts of his body were artificial, but he was undeniably human in every way that truly mattered, in his capacity for love, loyalty, sacrifice, and service. His story became a beacon of hope in an age when people worried about artificial intelligence replacing human values. Marcus demonstrated that the future didn't have to be about humans versus machines, but about humans and machines working together to create something greater than either could achieve alone. The unthinkable thing Marcus had done wasn't just saving Princess Isabella or catching a dangerous criminal. The unthinkable thing was proving that humanity's greatest strength had never been the perfection of our bodies, but the power of our choices to serve, protect, and love others regardless of our limitations. In a world increasingly defined by technology, Marcus Chen reminded everyone that being human was still the greatest achievement of all.